Hello, good morning. Well, I wanted to be there this morning to present my perspective of the Mennonite Convention, but obviously I'm at work and I forgot my selfie stick, so I'm standing in the conference room recording a video. I was not an official delegate. Casey was, Dennis was. I just got to come along for the ride, and I just wanted to share a little bit about my thoughts on Mennonite Convention this year. If you've never had the experience, I obviously grew up going to convention. I think I went to 3 or 4 as a youth member, and I loved it. We did our own youth worship, we had our own breakout sessions that we had to go to, and so going as an adult was a little bit different, but I was able to go to 10 different breakout sessions that I got to pick, and it was really exciting, and I came out with all this information, and I was gonna do all these presentations. Obviously, I can't do that in a couple minutes, but the topic of Mennonite Convention this year was Journey Forward, which Casey and Dennis and Jared are gonna speak on a little bit, and that was the main worship sessions. We had different speakers, and they spoke a little bit about that, but I picked 10 different breakout sessions that I was interested in. And sometimes it's hard being at our little church in the middle of Ohio, knowing kind of what the global community is doing and what we can be a part of in this world. It's really important, obviously, that we feed into our own community, but it was really awesome to be able to be with other people and hear what they're doing in their churches. So my first one was on the LGBTQIA youth and what we can do for them, which may not be something that impacts all of us, but it was just interesting to hear all of the statistics and hear how important it is for us to love people as Jesus did, regardless of our thoughts, but at least to be able to be there for these youth group members. One of the other conferences that Casey and I think both went to was called Here's the Church, Here's the Steeple, but Where Are All the People? So interesting to hear all the different churches' perspectives on them losing members as well. And it's not an excuse, but it is interesting to hear from somebody who is studying statistics that this is super normal. It's a normal trend across the United States. So just talking about how we can engage people in our community, even though we're losing a lot of members. And then I went to a really interesting one on Israel and Palestine and the Gaza Strip, which I was not familiar with, and I got to learn a lot about it. Again, not something that we deal with every day, not something we hear about every day, but I came out with some information on something called Mennonite Twinning Initiative. And so I may put some things in the lobby about this, but it's how we can be a part of matching up with a church in Palestine, not necessarily to give, but just to write letters and just to be present so that our brothers and sisters over there know that we're thinking about them and praying for them. I went to something on the Enneagram, which if you're not familiar with that, I got to learn all about my type. I'm a number 2, which is a helper. And then another really big one that Casey and I both went to was on Christian community development. I met with actually one of the speakers to talk about going to one of their conferences in the fall. I have one life and not 100 vacations, so I probably won't be able to go to it. But it is on how we can develop our community and how we can just kind of be a part of a bigger circle of people and have contacts all over so that we can start giving into our community. I mean, obviously we have DNA here, which we can be a part of. We're doing the giant concert in the summer, the picnic, to be a part of our community. So it was interesting to hear people's perspectives. It was put on by MCC and Everence because they're both a part of this corporation that's on community development. So something to look forward to. I'll probably have some more information about that. I went to something on the APEST model, which Jared is very passionate about, so you can ask him too, but on apostle, prophets, evangelists, shepherds, and teachers, which is a model of leading our church. I was pretty sure I was an apostle, but I'm a shepherd evangelist, so I'm here to help the congregation, and that was interesting and something that we can also look forward to hearing more about with our new leadership models. I went to a really, really interesting one on nonviolent communication. When people ask me what it's like to be a Mennonite, I usually say, oh, we don't serve in the military, or we don't fight people. But this one was on peacemaking in your everyday conversations, and what it means to be peacemakers just among our community, and how just having conversations where you don't hurt others is peacemaking. So that was very interesting and something that I took out of that I can just go through my everyday learning how to be a peacemaker just today in my conversation. Casey and I both attended one on sanctuary churches. Joel Miller from Columbus Mennonite spoke there, and we both walked away feeling very passionate about what we can do for our brothers and sisters who are immigrants here. Obviously, being a refugee church is a big deal, so it's not something that we're saying we need to jump into yet, but something to think about as you look around our community, the friends at school who may be immigrants, that kind of thing. We would love to be a resource, and so I'm going to talk to DNA about what they may need. Interesting options that they gave were, obviously you don't have to be a refugee church, but you could hold a space for immigrant lawyers who need offices to come out to Plain City from Columbus and that kind of thing. So it was really fascinating to hear some new ideas. And then one of the last ones I went to was on reconciling conversations, and it was literally on how the blues and the reds can talk to each other. Very interesting. We don't like to talk about political polarity in our church, and the first thing the guy made us do was split up Democrats and Republicans. So that was kind of uncomfortable. But it wasn't on learning how to change their minds, it was learning how to address the polarity in your own life. So I walked in there like, how can I change everybody's opinion? And it was on how to be a better listener and how to change your own opinion so that you can respect others better. So that was fascinating. It was put on by Better Angels, which is an organization that's nationwide. And we just talked about how you can just sit and be present and listen to other people's perspectives. So that was fascinating as well. So some of the things that I took that I'm going to go forward with, I actually looked into some border trips. If anybody's ever interested, Border Angels and Border Patrol puts on a tour. If anybody would ever have any desire to go down to Tijuana in Mexico and San Diego and just kind of hear what's been going on down there, I'm very passionate about that. So I look forward to putting together a trip maybe someday for that. One of the things that they encouraged us at one of the worship sessions was to walk away from convention with some ideas of how you're going to incorporate peacemaking into your community. And so I challenge all of us to think about that. Obviously, we're not signing up to go to war. So what is it you're doing every day to incorporate peace in your everyday conversations? One thing I'm going to talk to the missions committee about too is getting together some refugee kits for people seeking asylum at the border in Texas. They just need some basic clothes and things like that. And I believe it was MCC has a list of kits that we can put together. So look for information on that. I told Casey I would speak for 5 minutes and I'm at 7.5, so I gotta go. But convention is gonna be in, I believe, Cincinnati or Cleveland in 2 years. And I really encourage you, if you don't have to be a delegate, you don't have to be a youth group member. They combined the youth and adult worship this year, which was kind of odd for me. And it's obviously getting smaller, so that was a little bit different. But the breakout sessions alone, I mean, it was just fascinating to learn. It was like I got to go to like a seminary for a week. So, like I said, just touch base with us. We're going to have a lot of information going forward about how we can be active in our community, and I will turn it over to the next person.